The TTPS is here with us on Now this morning in the form of Inspector Michelle Lewis. And I say good morning to her as we get ready to discuss safe driving for Carnival, the smart driving, safety measures aimed at reducing threats. Good morning, Inspector.
Good morning to both of you. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
How are you doing this morning?
I am good. I'm smart.
Ah, boy.
I love it.
So, I mean, we in Carnival season.
Yes,
Full
we are.
swing. Everything is happening. We have fets happening. Pan was yesterday for the children. Lots of activities happening. How do we ensure safety when it comes to driving and people on the road?
Lots and lots of activity happening with people driving to and fro to get there. So the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service continues its safety campaign with SMART, as you have said, which is
Safety measures aimed at reducing threats.
Yes.
And not traffic.
So all aspects of safety, we want persons to make smart decisions when on the road and when you have persons with you. So as you mentioned, a lot of things happening, plenty events. Persons working and then after, they go into some kind of fete.
Yeah.
So we want you to be responsible, make smart decisions when going out. In the first instance, designate a driver.
Yeah.
Designating a driver does not necessarily mean that somebody in your group. It could mean that, but it could also mean you designating an aunt or somebody else to come and pick you
Or a
up.
taxi.
Yeah.
Or a taxi. So there are different ways which the driver, a safe driver, could be in place where you can get back home safely. So in the first instance that we want to encourage persons to do, designate a driver. The designated driver has to be somebody, not just somebody who is not drinking alcohol, but somebody is also not tired.
So important.
Right? Who is not tired as well, because they want them to be alert on the road. And of course, we know that accidents happen not just because of increased consumption of alcohol, but of course because of tiredness and increased speed. So ensure that that person is a responsible driver as well. We also want to encourage persons to drive within the speed limit.
That's something that's very
Right?
important as well.
We have seen a little increase in road fatalities, a 5% increase from last year, 2022 to 2023.
Right.
And so even with a 5% increase, it is an increase nevertheless in fatal road traffic accidents. And which, of course, one of the reasons is because of the increased speed limit. And so one of the things that we want persons to be mindful of is to reduce your speed limit when on the roadway. Coming from a fete, going to a fete. You may want to meet up with your friends just before they enter the fete.
Yeah.
And so you want to speed to get there. But it's better you arrive alive late than not arrive at all. So stay within the speed limits and drive safely to get to your event.
This reminds me of the fact, if you want to get there on time, leave
Earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very
Boil on
simple.
to that. And I mean, the beautiful thing about it is that if you're going to an event, if you're going to a party, you're going to entertain yourself, you don't need to rush because you could get there whenever.
especially in Trinidad.
Especially, I mean, you could get there a little bit late. You could be fashionably late.
You're not gonna
and
open
we
fence.
want you to be as safe as possible. Let me just repeat the acronym for you one more time. It's safety measures aimed at reducing threats. That's what we're discussing this morning. So slowing down, that is a safety measure. Yeah?
Yes.
Designating a driver, that is a safety measure. Making sure the driver not tired, that is a safety
Right.
measure. No consumption of alcohol if you're driving, that's a safety measure. Give me another one, Inspector.
Driving, so you're a driver of a vehicle and you see somebody lying on the road. Looking up easy into the eyes, female perhaps, be responsible. Make smart decisions. Do not allow strangers into vehicle. Females are also used as accomplices in committing criminal offenses, and we have seen an increase in that. So yes, as a driver, another safety tip, smart driving. Do not encourage strangers into your vehicle.
I agree with that. And I mean, it's interesting that you say accomplices, because many times we also say they are the perpetrators.
I was about to say that like I was a larger blast. Them serious out there. That's all good, not Inspector.
But it is a fact.
Yeah.
And we have seen it, even for vehicles being stolen, and robberies of vehicles in particular.
Yeah.
You will see where, or they will call somebody and say, I want something, and it's a female, and then after you see a group of men come up on you. So we know that women are used as part of the rig in terms of committing criminal offenses. And so as a driver, we want you to be alert and smart and be very much aware that these things do happen, especially when you have a little lick in your head and the person looking nice and appeasing, to be safe and to be responsible. Drink less, keep your head on and be responsible as a driver. You may also be putting the other persons in your vehicle at risk.
Of course.
For sexual offenses as well as physical offenses, sexual assault or physical assaults.
How do we know the difference between somebody who's actually in distress versus somebody who's pretending to be? You just don't stop for nobody.
Don't stop for
whether
nobody.
they actually need help or not.
Well, one of the things that you can do is call the police.
Okay.
Right? And one of the things that we have not seen happening, and we want to thank God for that, is that within a FET, there's generally a good police and security presence.
But there's how to pay for that.
Within and out, and that's a good thing. And we have heard in the past where promoters have been clamoring against the amount, but
against the
thank God,
cost, not the amount. It's the cost of the amount.
well, the cost is varied by the amount, is predominantly because of the amount of officers who are there, right? And so that is one of the things that we have to say is a good thing, because in FETs you don't normally hear these kind of things happening. And so within the FET and outside of the FET, you will generally see police officers and private security company personnel around the FET area, so that if somebody's outside there and, you know, they need some help, you can call on your phone, or you can look for somebody to help that person.
Okay.
And don't put yourself at risk.
That's an interesting perspective. I have to say, as a veteran, of course, you know, there will be times sometimes where, honestly, it can be a bit intimidating, because you there having a good time and you just see like this
line.
you say coming through the crowd, and everybody just goes.
Well, it's not just that, they move people out of the way.
Yeah, and it can be a bit intimidating sometimes, but as you mentioned it from that perspective, of course, I mean, I can't say I'll be the first one to, no, I will go to security and officer and be like, hi, excuse me, please come and deal with this situation.
That's what they're there for.
That's what they're there for.
That's what they're there for.
So we shouldn't be afraid to approach the police that we see mean walking through the crowd.
No, please
Or when you
do.
can't see their face.
Yeah,
like
when they're wearing
everything
riot
covered up.
masks and
Yeah, please. And you will see that kind of walkthrough when it's large crowds.
Yeah, but it's a big
If
fact.
it's, you know, a different type of event, like a more all-inclusive, uppity kind of thingy, you may not see that kind of police presence walking through. They'll be there, but you may not see it as that.
No, this is very true. And it's like,
It is the truth. It depends on the crowd.
It's the uppity for me.
So it depends. You will get the police, that type, and as well as get the officers in the grey and blue as the case may be. So
do we often have riots at FETs? Do we often, police ever have to use that gear in parties?
There's some events that if that presence is not there,
it will happen.
And sometimes after the FET as well.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
so I was going to say after the FET especially, like I've seen, like I remember going to one FET in particular, and something happened, somebody touched somebody, I don't know, but all of a sudden, people started to push, a big pot of corn soup basically flew off, people got burned, and all of a sudden, police came out of nowhere, and everybody was standing up on either side, behaving very well, so good job.
Yeah, it's important. The presence is there. It's not just to arrest, but also to prevent.
To prevent as well. And prevention is better than cure in most cases, yeah? All right, so what are the safety measures we need to put in place, Inspector?
Of course, as a smart driver, ensure that the vehicle is roadworthy.
Nah, boy.
Ensure that your vehicle is serviced, the tires have traction for the road, oil check and all of that. You don't want to shut down in the wee hours of the morning in a remote area and put yourself at risk.
Correct.
So we're talking Carnival time, because we know a lot of people come to Trinidad and Tobago for Carnival. We know a lot of Trinbagonians enjoy the Carnival season. Not everybody, but we have a lot of persons who do. And so it's important that all road users exercise that level of responsibility and smart decision making so that everybody on the road are safe. Pedestrians as well as other road users, drivers and that kind of thing. So you may be hustling, but you might be putting somebody else's life at risk.
Make sure you spare. You have your spare good as well.
Yeah, make sure you spare good.
Yeah.
Inspector, for people who might be asking, all right, we say you're not drinking and driving, right? But we see a prevalence of people who might still be able to get drunk and walk down the road and still cause road accidents, still cause themselves to be in danger. Is there a rise in that? Have you seen that happening, or is that just me seeing people drunk in the road?
People drunk in the road and then go into the vehicle.
No, not going into the vehicles.
No,
they just walk in. They walk in and they think, well, I'm being safe because I'm not driving. But they're still drunk and swerving everywhere because they walk in and they could walk themselves into the middle of the road as well, not so?
No regard for
Yes,
traffic
they
as
can.
well.
Yeah. So what
this is
advice do you
outside. So this is outside of Carnival Monday and Tuesday when the road belongs to the
Well,
masqueraders.
of course, because the road make the walk on
So they
Carnival
went
Day.
to a fete and they're on the road,
Yeah.
and they're drunk and disorderly,
Outside the party.
according to the song.
Nah, you see how much songs we quoted this morning, and let's quote after quote going
No.
down the road.
It is an offense,
Which one is an offense? To be drunk in public?
misbehaving
Okay. In public, generally?
yeah.
What is
So
misbehavior?
we
let
need
me
that
definition.
take my mind off of the police aspect, because there's misbehaving public officer, police officers.
Right,
Let's separate.
that's one thing.
And then of course there's disorderly behavior.
Disorderly behavior.
Disorderly behavior.
What is disorderly behavior?
Well, so any behavior. So for example, if somebody is behaving disrespectful, obscene language, insultive language, dressing,
Inappropriately.
well,
Lewd.
exposing,
Nakedness.
right? So that, and even though I said disorderly behavior, there's also criminal offense for obscene language
Which is a
for the
separate
annoyance,
offense,
yeah.
right.
And indecent exposure is also a criminal offense, and all of that. So depending on what it is, the person may not be driving, so you can't charge them for a criminal offense under driving, right? Drunk and drive. But
Yeah.
also if the person is behaving in a particular way,
Then you
there
can
may be
disorderly
another
as well.
type of offense that the person can be
You can
charged.
rack up them
But
offenses.
also what the officers, police tend to do is really talk to them, put them to sit down and let them cool off a bit before they actually go that way. Unless the person really, really abusive to the
Yeah.
police and getting out of hand, then you find the police might, go down a particular course of action.
Inspector, when you come back next week, we need
Boy.
to have a further conversation about this. This is very important, especially considering the best 2 days are about to happen very soon in Trinidad and Tobago. So before we wrap this morning's conversation, can you just share with us very briefly what our top tips are for being smart in driving?
Well, as designated driver, below the speed limit, drive below the speed limit. Ensure that your vehicles are service
Roadworthy.
and roadworthy. Of course, we said don't drink and drive. So
Generally.
road and rum don't mix in terms of the driver. And of course, look out for other drivers. So again, we want to remind the public that if you see something,
Say
something. We
something.
mentioned it before that if someone is in distress as a driver, if you can assist that way. But if it is you look at the situation and you realize that the person really genuinely look like if probably they were sexually assaulted and they really need help. The advice is not for you to just turn and leave that person, because you really can't help that person and prevent, because it could be that the person was just a victim of kidnapping.
And they run
or
away.
And they ran away.
Exactly.
Right.
So
Right?
call the police, 999, and make sure that you stay close enough that you're in a safe place, but
Yeah.
you could also help if
Help.
needed, yeah?
Very important.
So thank
And
you so much.
It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you. And make sure that you stay tuned on the Now Morning Show, because we have your birthdays coming up right after this short break. And also next week, we're going to be talking a bit more about what Inspector just mentioned.
I want to
Stay
find out
tuned.
how the
This is the Now
police
Morning
just train
Show.
all these laws, if they just learn
Listen.
all these laws. All the police have to study all these laws, like everybody's have to study it as they go through.
Generally, yes, at the beginning from the academy. So we have a batch inside right now.
And they study the laws so that they're able to
all around, especially